Hi, this is Simon Canlish and welcome to another Marvelous Videos. Like a shepherd, he will tend his flock. In his arms he will gather the lambs and carry them in his bosom. He will gently lead the nursing ewes. Those were the words of the prophet Isaiah from the Old Testament Bible, and in his image was created Isaiah, the inheritor of the fourth world in the DC metaverse. Also known as the Highfather, he is the new god, the wise leader of the planet of the new Genesis, their shepherd and their mentor. Although his character has been shown as shady over multiple iterations, till date he is considered as the embodiment of everything good and is directly connected to the source of all creation. He's the spiritual opposite and positive equivalent of Darkseid, the evil god of Apokolips. So disciples, today let us dive into the lore of Highfather. But before we begin, we have a small request. If you like our content, then please subscribe to our channel. It's a small click for you, but from us, it means a lot. Thank you.
Given time.
Publication history. The legendary and visionary writer, artist, creator Jack the King Kirby used to work for Atlas Comics, which became Marvel Comics down the line. Milestone characters like the Hulk, Black Panther, Silver Surfer, Fantastic Four, X-Men, Iron Man, Thor, Ant-Man were all created by him. These characters have been tested by time and still stand strong and popular. Later, Kirby left Marvel and joined its rival, DC Comics. He was no less a creative mind here at DC. Here he created the Fourth World Saga, a world full of gods and monsters and their adventures. He introduced Isaiah the Highfather in the New Gods issue 1 in March 1971. Birth of a new world. There existed a world where the old gods had lived. In that world they flourished, bantered, fought and went into wars among themselves. But time took its toll and the world started collapsing. Then came Ragnarok, when the planet of the old gods broke apart, blasting divine energy through space and time. All the old gods died and the two pieces of the world were left in space, adjacent to each other, waiting for new life to be born. When life happened and evolved on the two planets, the two gods came into existence. One planet became New Genesis, with benevolent and noble gods. It was overseen by the great leader and warrior Isaiah, the Highfather. Under his guidance, New Genesis became the living embodiment of good, much like heaven. On the other hand, the other planet birthed evil gods and monsters. It eventually came to be known as Apokolips. It came to be ruled by the cruel gods Yuga Khan and his wife Hegra, and later Darkseid. Apokolips was the embodiment of everything bad and has engaged in wars with New Genesis ever since.
Patience, my dear. Everything has a purpose and a place.
Who is Highfather and how did he came to be? Isaiah the Interior began life as a warrior and New Genesis commander. He unknowingly became a pawn in the plans of Darkseid. Steppenwolf was tricked into attacking New Genesis by Darkseid. In that battle, Steppenwolf killed Avia, Isaiah's wife. Burning with hatred, Isaiah swore revenge on Steppenwolf and led the armies of New Genesis against him. This was part of Darkseid's plan. He attacked Isaiah but did not kill him, as he wanted Isaiah to exact revenge on Steppenwolf. The wounded Isaiah was tended to by a woman named Vela. They fell in love and got married to each other. But at the time Vela was pregnant, an interstellar war ensued between New Genesis and Apokolips, where Isaiah assumed the role of the general. He left for the war, promising her that he would return. In that war, he killed Steppenwolf and then returned back, only to find that Vela had died giving birth to his son, Scott. He was heartbroken and lost all interest in the ongoing war. As the conflict escalated, it resulted in cosmic-scale destruction, including the weaponization of whole stars and the annihilation of entire planets. Isaiah grew weary of this senseless slaughter of battle. He found no comfort in seeking revenge and abandoned his mantle as a warrior. He left on a soul-searching quest in the destroyed Baron of New Genesis. Isaiah stumbled upon a shadowy wall with a fiery written on it. These were messages from the source, the enigmatic good power in charge of the cosmos. He developed a connection to the source and adopted the planetary leadership role of Highfather. He then returned to Supertown, the abode of new gods, and spread his wisdom.
When Darkseid and Highfather exchanged their infant sons.
The sacrifice. Highfather realized that the ongoing wars with Apokolips had become so bad that they would cause destruction of both the worlds. So, as part of the peace treaty, Highfather gave his son Scott free to Darkseid and took Orion in exchange to raise. In this way, the peace accord was signed between the New Genesis and Apokolips. Orion was lovingly brought up by Highfather as his own son. Highfather tamed his violent tendencies and taught him compassion-based morals. On the other hand, his own son Scott grew up in the pits of Apokolips. Highfather wanted to pass on his mantle to Scott one day, but Scott disliked his father as well as the way of the gods. With a heavy heart, Highfather kept leading the planet of New Genesis. In time, the father and son were reunited, but that distance between them never disappeared. The state of grace. In the Forever People arc, the Source directed Highfather to bring together 5 young gods for a special purpose. Thus were united the Forever People: Mark Moonrider, Beautiful Dreamer, Viking, Big Bear, and Seraphan. They were fitted with a mother box each, a mother box being a sentient AI device that can create portals, do its wearer's bidding, and heal its wearer from any kind of ailment or injuries. The 5 of them bonded together for 5 years, as directed by Highfather. Highfather met them and personally trained them. They were trained to concentrate and coordinate their sentience so that they could think as a collective intelligence. When the Forever People came to each other's proximity and chanted the word Taru by placing their fingers on their mother boxes, the boxes linked together as one and combined the young gods into one single being of power, the Infinity Man. The Infinity Man was actually Highfather's friend from his warrior times, known as Drax of Apokolips. He was killed by the treachery of Axis. As Infinity Man, he was able to match the might of Darkseid. This was the sole purpose for which Highfather created him, to stop Darkseid when the time comes. As the prophecy went, Darkseid would one day try to take over the entire metaverse with the anti-life equation, which he believed resided in the mind of Earth people. Highfather sent Orion to warn Superman, and then allied with him to stand against Darkseid. There he was also reunited with his son scot-free, who had escaped from Apokolips with his wife, Big Barda. The god is dead. During the Genesis story arc, the God Wave, thought to be the source of all power and divinity in the cosmos, was tumbling back into the source and the heart of creation. The source wall had already been shattered and is threatened to destroy the source and all along with it, the entire universe. In order to close the breach in the source wall, Highfather gathered all the gods that were connected and empowered by the source. He proposed to use his Wonder Staff to combine all of their essences into a singular godlike being called the One. The One would be powerful enough to repair the source wall by reaching the heart of the source. But when Highfather was combining the power of the gods, Zeus's son Ares, the god of war, also became a part of the One. Ares had the sole purpose of using the source's power to do his own bidding, unleashing war upon all existence. While the One journeyed to the heart of the source, all of the gods were stripped off from the one by one. In the end, there was only Highfather and Ares left. Ares revealed his evil scheme to him and tried to covet the power from the source. Highfather went on a full-on battle with Ares, using his fighting skills back from his warrior days. However, he was no match for him, the god of war, and was killed instantly when Ares stabbed him. Although his physical form was destroyed, his sentience lived on. Tachyon, a hero from Earth who was a living conduit of the source, succeeded him as the head of New Genesis. Highfather's spirit later came back to rejuvenate Supertown and give a new hope for New Genesis, so that gods can carry on their resistance against the evil Darkseid. Highfather's spirit became a part of the Quintessence, a group of strong cosmic beings, and watched occurrences in the cosmos, deciding the worthiness of the heroes across the multiverse, alongside Phantom Stranger, Ganthit, Zeus, and Shazam. Long live the god! During Grant Morrison's Seven Soldiers story arc, it was revealed that, with the help of the anti-life equation, Darkseid had massacred New Genesis and killed almost all the new gods who were his adversaries. The god from the New Genesis and Apokolips found their new home on Earth. All the gods lodged their essences in the new bodies on Earth. Isaiah and others became a bunch of homeless people, while both Metron and Black Razor became wheelchair-bound and senile. Granny Goodness, Darkseid's aide, posed as a pimp and led a group of prostitutes comprising of the female Furies. Darkseid had turned into a psychiatrist. During the final Crisis event, Superman and the other superheroes used the Miracle Machine to rebuild reality with the help of Monitor Nix Yuatan. When reality was restored, Isaiah was reborn on Earth 51. a new avatar. Barry Allen ran back in time in order to save his mother from being killed by Eobard Thawne. He managed to save her, but he created the Flashpoint and changed the entire DC universe. In order to bring everything back to the way it was, he ran into the time stream again to stop himself from creating the Flashpoint. He was successful, but the entire DC universe was rebooted. The New 52 was born. All of the heroes were now younger, friends and lovers were no longer in touch. Heroes were just starting their journey and no one had any memory of the pre-Flashpoint era. It was at this point we saw a new version of Highfather. Here, instead of being a soldier, Isaiah was a mud grubber. He and his wife Avia lived in a world of the old gods named Urgrun, along with Avia's brother, Uxis. While Isaiah and his wife were fearful mortals that shook at the sight of the old gods, Uxis harbored deep hate for them. While the old gods played or playfully fought, the mortals of that world were killed like the lowlives they were. Isaiah and his wife prayed to the gods every time they wreaked havoc. That only made the gods stronger, but they never stopped with their whimsical destructions. One night when the old gods were sleeping, Uxis climbed the forbidden mountain and whispered in their ears and tricked them into fighting each other. The old gods went into war. When they fell one by one, Uaxis killed each one of them with his scythe and took their powers. Those powers transformed him into a new god, and he baptized himself as Darkseid. While Isaiah and Avia were trying to flee from the planet-shattering destruction, Avia got fatally injured. Isaiah saw the god of the sky falling to his death and prayed to him to save Avia. The god of the sky and Avia passed away together, but with his dying breath he gave Isaiah the power of a god, turning him into a new and younger avatar of Highfather. Highfather fought Darkseid and tried to reason with him, but he was unsuccessful in front of his hellish rage. The might of the battle was so much that the world of the new gods exploded. Similar to pre-New 52, the two pieces of the world became New Genesis and Apokolips. Highfather became the leader of New Genesis, while Darkseid took over Apokolips. The final day and the new pact. Peace never stood a chance, since right after Ugrund was decimated, the old god Yuga Khan resurfaced. Angered with the death of all his peers, he made the use of the anti-life equation to resurrect all the dead gods who were killed by Darkseid. Highfather and Darkseid fought Yuga Khan on the ravaged lands of Ugrund. Yuga Khan easily overpowered both of them. Highfather tried to reason with Yuga Khan, telling him that the ways of the old gods were finished and new ways were needed for the betterment of the entire cosmos. Yuga Khan asserted that neither Highfather nor Darkseid would be able to bear or share the godly power that they had accumulated from the old gods. Before Yuga Khan could kill Highfather, Darkseid ambushed him from behind and split him with his scythe, which he used to kill the other old gods. As such, the last of the old gods died. This was dubbed as the final day. After agreeing with Highfather centuries later, they rebuilt their destroyed house and gave it the name Genesis. For a while there was calm, and Highfather revived Avia as his new god bride. But things went back to the same cycle when Darkseid attacked Highfather's kingdom from his hellish domain of Apokolips. Darkseid violated Avia and killed her brutally. A devastating war broke apart Genesis. Countless were killed by Day 7 of the Great War. Darkseid was ultimately sent back to his hellish realm, while Highfather himself went on to create New Genesis, a utopian community that would always float above the ravaged ruins of Genesis. The war between good and evil went on for eons. Metron advised both Darkseid and Highfather to exchange their scions in order to enter a peace treaty to stop the forever war. Heartbroken that he would have to give away his son, the last memory of Avia, Highfather reached out to the ends of the multiverse for an answer. When he commanded with a source shard, it gave him the responsibility and burden of living by prophecy, and the prophecy demanded that he exchange his son with Darkseid's. The source power entered him and declared that his moral coil will exist, but it will be driven by the champion of the source, the Infinity Man. Ultimately, the exchange was made and peace between New Genesis and Apokolips was made. When Zeus's firstborn, the monster Olympus, started decimating everything in his path to regain his birthright, Highfather sent Orion to save Earth. After Orion's transported a severely injured Wonder Woman, Hera, and Zola to New Genesis to flee the firstborn, Highfather himself emerged. Later, Highfather hinted at a greater threat as strong as Superman, which eventually led to the first meeting between Orion and Superman. Godhead. Highfather and Metron had investigated each and every inch of the infinite source wall. and discovered a being named Relic who was not there before. Relic spoke in keywords about the 7 power rings and turning them into one. Relic prophesied that this process of merging the power rings would yield the life equation, the very anesthetic of the anti-life equation that Darkseid was searching for. Highfather immediately ordered Orion and the Council of 8 to bring him the power rings from each emotional spectrum so that he can have Forgemaster Hylot to merge them and fit them into his Wonder Scepter. All the power rings were coveted by Highfather's team of new gods and brought back to him. Hylot created the scepter for Highfather, and he immediately went to test his new device on low-life planet to turn them into new gods with the life equation. Highfather was so confident that he declared that once his device passed the test, he would punish the Lanterns for squandering the power of the white light. He immediately hit everyone on the planet with a blast from his scepter, but it was a failure as all the residents of the planet were turned into mindless beasts. On his return, Hylot pointed out that the power of the 7 rings was not pure. Metron suggested that the true power lay in the White Lantern, who had the power to bestow life itself. The power of the White Lantern was imbued into Kyle Rayner, who had the life equation coursing through him. So Highfather set out on his quest to find him. Meanwhile, Kyle Rayner's White Lantern powers went haywire as he was going through an existential crisis for the life equation that was residing within him. Highfather boomed himself to Kyle's location and helped him control his powers. He asked Kyle and Carol to accompany them to a new Genesis so that he could rid them of the life equation. Although he was skeptical in the beginning, Kyle eventually decided to give up the equation to Highfather. He helped remove the white ring which had the life equation from Kyle. Hylot implanted the equation into Highfather's scepter. Highfather revealed to Kyle and Carol that his new scepter will help him create mindless god soldiers to fight Darkseid's armies. Those soldiers would help him destroy Darkseid and end the forever war once and for all. He then banished them to the ruins of New Genesis. Highfather then used his scepter and turned an entire planet into his god drones. He ordered his team of new gods to kill all the Lanterns as well as the planets where his experiments with the scepter had failed. Hal Jordan, Sinestro, John Stewart, Guy Gardner, Simon Baz, and Kilowog, along with the other Green Lantern Corps, started a resistance against Highfather's malevolence. Black Lantern Edward Hand raised all the dead Titans from the Source Wall, and Sinestro opened a boom tube to the New Genesis, and all the Titans attacked there. In the end, Highfather captured them all and was about to unleash the life equation on them when Hal pointed out that he was becoming just as evil as Darkseid. Highfather was shocked at this realization. He relinquished the life equation back to Carl and destroyed his scepter. He kneeled before the Lanterns and thanked them. He realized at last that the multiverse war with Darkseid could not be won by these monstrous methods. He admitted that even if the forever war continued, the multiverse was in good hands. Godlike abilities. Highfather is an immortal new god who draws his power from the source itself. He has an incredible control over a type of energy known as the Alpha Effect. He unleashed that form of energy with his Wonder Staff, a material representation of what is beyond. The Wonder Staff had previously been Isaiah's War Staff, which he used during the battles. Upon his commune with the Source, the War Staff was converted into the Wonder Staff. He had been a skilled warrior before he became the Highfather. He possessed super strength, godlike speed, invulnerability, and godlike stamina. He is able to rearrange the molecular structure of any object, telekinetic. He can bestow godlike power on any other individual and make them a god by tapping power from the source. He is able to travel to any corner of the multiverse with just a mere thought. He is able to pass through any matter known to man. He has the ability and the power of chronokinesis, where he can release his alpha bullets through time and connect to the past. His new 52 counterpart was a younger and battle-hardened version of himself, much akin to Isaiah the Inheritor. He held lesser godlike power, but was a brilliant hand-to-hand combatant and a great diplomat. Like all other gods, Highfather is vulnerable to radium, a toxic radioactive mineral made from the element X. His grace in other versions and other media. In the Elseworld story, JLA, The Nail, released in 1998, Highfather made an appearance in an ongoing war between New Genesis and Apokolips. In the comic book series Injustice, Year 4, Highfather was informed by Orion that Apokolips was going to be destroyed and millions of Apokoliptans were going to die. Highfather asks Orion to warn Darkseid and Superman to cease their war, or else it would bring nothing but death and destruction on Apokolips. Apokolips. Orion later learned from Batman that Zeus was helping Darkseid. After that, Highfather helped Superman in his fight with Zeus and tried to reason with him to stop his madness. He then gave back Billy Batson his powers to call upon the thunder and disappeared together with the uprising. Richard Chamberlain provided the voice of an alternate reality Highfather in the animation movie Justice League Gods and Monsters. To unite Apokolips and New Genesis, he married his granddaughter, Becca, to Darkseid's son, Orion, rather than exchanging Orion for Mr. Miracle. Shortly after Orion and Becca got hitched, Highfather turned against Darkseid. He was already tired of the wars against Darkseid and wanted to finish him off once and for all. Aided by the gods of the New Genesis, Highfather killed Darkseid and all the other guests from Apokolips. When Becca tried to flee with Orion, with whom she'd have fallen in love with, Orion denied and faced Highfather. Highfather killed him too. Becca was heartbroken and turned against Highfather and fled to Earth using the Mother Box sword that Orion had given her as a wedding gift. Highfather first debuted in the DC animated universe in the Superman the Animated Series episode titled Apokolips Now Part 2 from Season 2. He also appeared in the episode titled Legacy, which was the series finale. In the two-part Justice League episode titled Twilight, voiced by actor Mitchell Ryan, Highfather made his speaking debut. Highfather also made an appearance in Season 4 of Young Justice as Isaiah, and his wife was still alive at that juncture of the story. He was voiced by Mark Rolston. Marvelous verdict. That's it, disciples. That's everything you need to know about our Lord, God, Savior, and Prophet, the Highfather. From being a warrior to turning into a wise God, and then being rebooted as a warrior god again. Highfather has done it all. However, he's not the best person to rely on, as you can't say when he will be switching personalities. Rest assured that our Multiverse channel will keep updating you on the status quo of Highfather whenever he sets off on a new adventure. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this.